What's up, nerds? It's me, HeyArcher. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for the patience as we redo all of the video and audio quality for you guys. Hopefully, you enjoyed the unboxing video that came out, I think, either yesterday or a couple days ago, depending on when this video comes out. But once again, special guest and friend of the show, Mr. Anthony, is on here. Welcome, Anthony, back to HeyArcher.
Hey, thank you for having me again.
So, to my understanding, there was a topic you want to discuss. Those of you who are watching will see a picture in the background, but I'll let you explain it to those who are not watching.
So I figured we can talk about how we, if Marvel or Sony wants to reach out to either of us, how we would handle merging the, I guess, Venom verse or whatever the Sony Spider-Man villain universe, whatever they were calling it, with the Marvel universe. Since based on the Morbius trailer, seems like that is definitely happening now.
That is correct.
Yeah,
So, I have been a terrible nerd and I have not watched Venom yet. So, uh, I'm guessing you've seen it, right?
I did. Not in theaters, but I've seen it.
All right, cool. So, for those of us who have not seen it, why don't you tell us, is there anything in that movie that seems like it could actually link between the Marvel Cinematic Universe and that movie?
Uh, if anything, only the I don't think there's anything that links to it because I've seen it and I probably should have watched it again before we talked about it. I'm not remembering anything that like leaps out at me. They were pretty self-contained, pretty stuck pretty much with Eddie Brock and his world, which was he was in San Francisco, and it was all in this very enclosed time period in this very enclosed setting. Didn't really branch out. They never mentioned anything that I recall anyway. They never said, "Oh, that crazy shit happening back out east," or anything like that. So, which I think is the way which could be their in. I don't remember them saying a specific year. I don't remember them saying they never, specifically did or did not mention anything. So I think I don't know if obscurity is the right word, but I think whatever they did there, I think the fact that they kept it so tight and within what was happening in San Francisco over these few days, however long the movie takes place, I forget. I think that's their in, personally.
So in that movie, is Eddie Brock at all like the Eddie Brock you're kind of familiar with, where he's kind of a douchebag and
Uh,
very cocky and all that?
Yes and no. I didn't mind his Eddie Brock. Like I didn't get the douchebag vibe, but he was a journalist. You get the impression that he was actually really good at his job, which I think Eddie Brock was for a while anyway. I don't remember his origins too much, to be honest with you. Uh, Probably losing you viewers with all these comments like this I'm making. And But no, he's good at his job. He's competent at his job, and then spoiler for you, but tough luck because we're talking about it. Spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen it. He decides to go after, a um, powerful industry leader, and basically that guy, he's like, "Oh, you fucked up. That's the end. That's the end for you." And he torpedoes his career, and then, I think he can barely get a job writing a blog type of thing. He has it all. He has the girl, and then loses it all because he was trying, you know, he wanted to take down the bad guy, and the bad guy just had way too much pull. He was not in his weight class.
And all of this takes place in San Francisco, not in New York or anything.
Yeah, San Francisco, nothing in New York. Uh, and actually, since you haven't seen it, so basically, well, there's some stuff in China too, but like a probe that the company sent out crashes in China, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what has all the symbiotes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember. Did you remember the trailer when the woman in there kept saying symbiotes
Yeah.
or her? I think we had a discussion about that, saying I always said symbiotes, so I'm gonna just keep saying it that way.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so aside from that, getting all the symbiotes to San Francisco, and then there's one symbiote that is on its own and makes its way there because reasons it has. Uh, it's all in San Francisco.
Oh, all right. So they actually kept like some sort of alien vibe to it. They
Oh
didn't.
yeah, it's all. So I was thinking before we started talking. Did you ever read Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yeah, but it's so long ago I can't remember. Because in
All
in,
right, did
in
you
that
remember?
one wasn't Venom,
Did it what?
wasn't it not a alien in the Ultimate Universe?
Right. It was something that Parker's father created or had a hand in creating, and this is different, obviously, because they do keep the alien origin, but it was like its own fully formed thing, and then it finds Spider-Man. So like, they borrowed aspects of it. Like Venom is his own fully formed personality, and like you see him hopping from host to host to like kind of get by, and he wants to get back off the planet. He does not want to stay on Earth. He's trying to get out of there, and he actually says to Eddie at one point, he's like, help me out, and he's threatening him the whole time because he's alien parasite living in his body, but he's saying, help me out. I want to get the hell off this rock, and if you do that, maybe you'll live. And but yeah, just like I was just mentioning the Ultimate Spider-Man, because it's his own personality, and then it's actually funny. They made a tie-in video game. I don't know if you remember.
Was that the cell shaded
They,
video game?
they made like a tie-in PS2 maybe video game where you didn't have to play it, but Ultimate Spider-Man for PS2 or whatever the hell it was. Uh, Basically, at the end of that game, after because in Ultimate Spider-Man at first, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have the white. The Venom doesn't have the white spider until after he merges with Parker,
Right.
and then he gets the white spider.
Yeah.
Something kind of like that, if I'm remembering right. That's what happens in video game too. Eventually at one point he has possession of Spider-Man, and then for reasons that they had developing the game, all of a sudden the white Venom emblem appears all over his chest, and even though Spider-Man gets separated from him, the emblem stays, and then you have your classic look Venom.
Did wait, so in this movie, did Venom do any kind of like spider type things?
He I mean, he didn't climb a building gracefully. Like he kind of just used his claws and his feet and like dug into a building and would like leap, like propel himself up by leaping. And like he didn't, if I'm remembering right, he doesn't adhere to the building like Spider-Man would. It's very more, it's much
Gargoyles?
more aggressive. Him just pounding his hand, kind of like you remember Wonder Woman when she pounds her hand into the mountain and climbs it that way.
Yeah, I was
Kind of like
thinking
that.
I was thinking of gargoyles in the cartoon. Remember they used to claw their way up the
Yes.
buildings.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So all right.
Something like that. And
So
I
that
don't
makes
actually recall him. He didn't web. Well, he doesn't have webs, but he didn't web swing. And I think like the only thing that's sticking out as him doing anything remotely like that is actually a scene from the trailer too, where Brock's riding his motorcycle to escape, but he gets like he's about to he gets flung off it because he took the hill too fast or whatever, and then just tendrils of the suit attach to the bike and pull him back onto it. That's the only one I'm remembering.
So all right. So the question, of course, is going to be how does that tie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And the one I can't remember at the moment, did Disney end up getting back Spider-Man full time, or is this like another borrowed thing? Like
I'm pretty sure it's still on borrowed time. I think they extended it for, I want to say, another 3 movies. But so I think, Spider-Man 3, well, Marvel Universe Spider-Man 3, another Avengers, and maybe, because I kept hearing them talk about them wanting him in Captain Marvel to humanize Captain Marvel, or they wanted him. People have also been saying like, oh, they're going to do a Deadpool Spider-Man team up to get Ryan Reynolds into the universe. So I'm pretty sure another solo, another Avengers, and then a third one to be announced, and then we're going to be right back in this whole thing that we had last summer where they're like, okay, well, he was part of the biggest movie ever. We set him up as to be the next Iron Man, but okay, bye.
So I think that because everybody's clamoring for Sinister Six, right? And actually, that's what I was looking up just now to see like who people want in their Sinister Six. And a lot of people online have been. For some reason, I keep saying a lot of people. I've said that like 5 times in a row just now. People are asking for Morbius, Kraven, Mysterio, Venom, Scorpion, and not Raven, Falcon. What the fuck's his name?
Kraven?
No, dude with the wings, Michael Keaton.
Oh, Vulture.
Vulture. They're asking for that to be like the 6. Now,
Hmm.
right now we've had a fleshed out Venom, Mysterio, and Vulture.
Right.
Do you want them to try to do quick origin stories on everybody and dump them into some sort of Sinister Six movie, or do you actually want this to be like Avengers level? You know, there's a 10-year gap between movies where there's a build up to the Sinister Six being against Spider-Man.
Uh, I mean, I kind of want it right now, just because honestly, I don't know if I have the patience for another 10-year buildup, like like we had with Avengers and everything else, and Endgame. It was well worth the wait, but just because Sony's involved and obviously their track record with Spider-Man movies on their own, I don't want to wait and then ultimately be disappointed. If Marvel has a bigger hand in it in controlling, the narrative, okay, but I guess it would all depend on how that deal was structured. I mean, you have to do the origins and at least a little bit, just because everybody who watches, even though most of it is guys and women, men and women like us, it's they also have to account for the ones who are just watching the movies and have no idea what's going on. I don't know. I mean, maybe only if long game, only if Marvel. That's my short answer. Long game, only if Marvel has much more creative input and control. Sony has to get on Marvel's page, because they have the track record that Sony wishes they had. That's my take. What about you?
Well, so I was actually just double checking rumor online just to make sure I didn't like randomly think of it off the top of my head. People are thinking, damn it, I said it again. The people think. Uh, the rumor online is that Kraven the Hunter will be the villain for Black Panther 2. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm all down for that. Although I don't want to see him
Yeah.
necessarily get like destroyed by Black Panther, because then it's like, how you gonna convince me that he can fight Spider-Man? I guess I'm not like they got to be careful with that. Um,
Yeah.
so if you do that and that falls in between movies, then let's say the next movie is Spider-Man versus Venom, and then at the end of the movie, like maybe Michael Keaton even shows up to Eddie Brock and is like, "How about I help you get revenge on him?" Right? And maybe
Right. Well, something. Sorry to cut you off. Something like Iron Man did
yeah,
in Incredible Hulk.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like Eddie Brock's in jail, right? And let's say Keaton shows up and is like, hey, let's go after Spider-Man together. I'll help you get your symbiote back. And then maybe he's there with Mysterio. So now that's 3. Then you have
Hmm.
by that point Morbius should be out already, and we don't know who the villain in Morbius is. Trying to
I
think.
think it's yeah. They haven't said.
Yeah, actually, no, I think he is the villain of that movie. I think they're gonna
Yeah, I was gonna
flesh
say. I
that out.
think he's kind of gonna be his own villain type of thing, because it's gonna be him versus his human life or
Right.
whatever. I don't know. I haven't. Yeah.
So then that's 4. So now we have um we're missing 2 more. Oh, so Scorpion was already shown in the end credit, I think, of Spider-Man. So maybe they can do like
Well, he was on the boat. Yeah, he was on the ferry, and he was the ferry scene, and he was shown in the prison.
yeah. So so
Yeah.
now we just need I think one more, right? So that would be Morbius.
If my math holds up, yeah.
Yeah, so
Oop. So, but would you want to see Doc Ock again, or do you want them to go with a villain we haven't seen in any of the movies yet?
that's a toughie. I think all right, let me just think about. I keep having to run through who the people are. So we'd have Venom. So we'd have Venom already, and then we'd have Michael Keaton show up to recruit Venom, and
Hmm.
Michael Keaton shows up with Mysterio and Scorpion to free Venom.
Yeah.
Then you intro Craven in the Black Panther movie. So now we need one.
Right.
Now we need one more person, and then that's where you.
Morbius. Well, Morbius would be 6, just out
Oh,
of
so that's it.
yeah. So that's it. Well, I'm saying if they didn't. Well, I mean, assuming Mysterio is actually dead, or they decide not to use him again
Mm-hmm.
right away, you would need potentially a sixth bad guy. And I mean, I really liked, actually, I'm sure you did too, but Spider-Man 2 with Maguire.
Right.
Ooh, I can't think of his name, but I like the guy who played Doc Ock.
Yeah.
But obviously, the problem with those movies is they kept killing their villains because, I don't know, they never thought they would get another shot at another movie. So they figure, oh, well, the only way to deal with them is to kill them, which, write yourself into a corner there. But,
Alfred Malone.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Doc Ock because if you read some of the Spider-Man comics, I guess I can't remember, but like a few years ago when I was getting out, they did some really good stuff. They reintroduced Doc Ock as like a dying man because, like, essentially they said, well, aside from his arms, he was just an old fat white guy. So, constantly taking punches to the face from Spider-Man. I think they showed, like, they did the montage panel where it's like everybody who punched him in the head ever, like, Captain America, Wolverine, Spider-Man, so on and so forth. It gave him brain damage and he was dying. And then, did you ever read these stories? Hear about it?
Isn't that what leads into Superior Spider-Man?
Yes, yeah, because like Spider-Man, Peter Parker has been working at a tech company or a think tank rather, and he kind of starts reverse engineering stuff he uses as Spider-Man to go out to civilians to give them he made a new suit that's absorbs impacts better because he didn't have a spider sense for a while. He dumbed that down and made it into a motorcycle suit, stuff like that. But Doc Ock transfers his brain into Peter Parker, and he becomes the quote unquote superior Spider-Man. But and then like that whole arc, that was really good. Like seeing him go from basically a villain in Spider-Man's body to a hero, and they actually even brought him back again, of course, because nobody stays dead in comics.
Right.
But
I would want them to pull like in the video game. Like I didn't finish the game at all, but what they did in the game was they got you to like almost fall in love with the character of Doc Ock, and then eventually that's when he turns. So I wouldn't want them to do a single movie on him turning. Like I'd really want them to make it so that we're confused whether we should be on his side or not. Do the Mr. Freeze thing where it's like you sympathize for the person, or even just like it's funny because him and the Lizard are kind of the same type of character, where they're good guys, and then whatever accident turns
tragic villains.
Yeah. But I wouldn't want them to rush. I wouldn't want them to rush him. I think you could.
I mean, I don't want them to rush in if they're going to do. And sorry to cut you off. I don't want them to rush in, but like I say, just because I don't know who has more pull, you'd think for Sony it'd be a no-brainer. Like, okay, like just let you guys do all the hard work. Let me take a bulk of the money, but I don't know, and you can have your toys back. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off this whole time. Sorry.
That's fine. I was trying to think. I had another villain in my head that I thought they introduced in. You had Prowler, technically, because that was Donald Glover's character, I think, in the first one.
Yeah, that's true too. I forgot about that.
So
and he was teased, and they teased Miles too. Miles Morales in Homecoming, they teased him.
Yep. And I
forgot about that.
There's another one I'm forgetting. But I would want them, somebody like Doc Ock. I think he has a real opportunity these days to become like the next big bad in the Marvel Universe, minus somebody like Magneto, because he's not there yet. But somebody who's like, super smart, super calculated. If they ever want to bring back in the whole, Defenders universe, then you can kind of have him and Kingpin working together, stuff like that. But
right,
I think for now they might do the angle of Michael Keaton is the kind of ringleader here, because even he's a drastically different character than in all the comics, right?
From what I remember in the comics, he's just this really old guy who didn't really have. I don't know if he ever had the family motivation that he has in the movie or any of that. And I remember in the Saturday morning cartoon Spider-Man, he just his sole motivation was to become young again.
Yeah.
Because he was, pissed off that he aged.
And he was a super rich guy. Like he was rich, like Kingpin was.
Yeah. He was a millionaire, whatever.
Oh,
Yeah, he was a rich dude, so he didn't have to steal for money to support his family. That was a different. If the cartoon was accurate to the comic, which I think it was closer, that whole twist of him being a working guy from the movie was new.
yeah,
But I liked it. It worked for him. Like I'm okay. Like yeah, I mean, it does like kind of like with the Avengers. The Sinister Six is a rotating cast and crew, so you can start it with these guys, and then it can always evolve to include Hobgoblin. Oh yeah, Hobgoblin. Actually, we've never seen him on screen,
yeah.
but it can evolve to include Hobgoblin, uh, Doctor Octopus. Once he gets his introduction properly, I don't think Norman Osborn was ever really in the Sinister Six. And actually, I had heard too they wanted Norman Osborn to be potentially the next, like he would be the next big bad, kind of like in Dark Reign, that series. Did you ever read that?
I did not.
Basically, I forget what was the event. It was all right. I think it was Secret Invasion because Secret Invasion followed Civil War in the comics,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where all the Skrulls had been like infiltrated Earth for years and years and years. Even a lot of the heroes were Skrulls, and they were sleeper agents. And at the end of that event, spoiler, uh, Norman Osborn, who's been leading the Thunderbolts, uh, pops the head Skrull. I think it was a Queen Skrull who was looking like Spider-Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Kills her. Everybody sees it because it's like news outlets and everything. They were relying a lot on like heavy modern media. Like everybody's recorded, everything's been seen. So now Norman Osborn becomes a hero, quote unquote, but he's still Norman Osborn. So he's like they have their own Avengers. He's the top guy. He's like the head of. I think he dismantled Shield and he called it Sword again or something. His own little spin on it.
Yep.
So because now that Tony Stark's dead in the Marvel universe, we could see like the anti Tony Stark, which is in ways what Norman Osborn is, because smart guy but just can't get out of his own way, only wants to help himself, stuff like that. I think we've gotten off topic though. How are we introducing Venom and Spider-Man?
That's true, actually.
we got off on a huge tangent.
No. Well, we had the idea. We said that
Yeah.
Vulture would recruit, like, get him out of jail or something. But
Oh yeah, that's right.
but at the end of Venom do they angle him as a good guy at the end of Venom?
So it's really weird because like they kind of have an agreement. It's weird. He's a full-on cannibal, Venom.
Okay.
In the movie because he's threatening in like the end scene. Did you see?
Yeah.
You had to have heard about where like he threatens the guy and says he'll be like just like a turd rolling down the street without limbs and stuff.
Oh no, I only saw the post-credit thing.
Well, yeah. So anyway, he's a full-on cannibal, but you kind of get the impression that like they're gonna do things where like okay, we're gonna do good. You're only gonna kill bad people. I think he actually says that in the movie. That kind of is where they leave it set up, But and then they introduce Cletus Cassidy, like in a split second. Woody Harrelson is in prison, and he goes to do an interview with him. So they tried a lot in that movie, but yeah. I mean, anyway, like I said, my whole take is like because they did it so tight and they didn't mention anything else. Who's to say it didn't happen with, they call it the blip in Far From Home, but during the events of the snap, I mean, San Francisco is still kind of too vibrant, so it could have been happening right along, like right along when that's happening, just in terms of just. Okay, it's happening in the same universe, but I got my own stuff going on, so I don't have time to worry about this. I have an alien living inside me. I'm not, that's why I haven't been talking about all the crap happening in, actually Africa, I guess, really, because that's where the main battle of Infinity War took place, and then New York for Endgame.
But they need.
Yeah, don't go too deep into it. Would be my thing. Just.
but they need some way to get Eddie Brock to hate Spider-Man. Like that would have to be like
Yeah,
I feel like that's you need that aspect of it because I mean, even when Eddie Brock turns good, I'm pretty sure he still doesn't like Peter as a person. So
it's still a very yeah, it's a very confrontational relationship. I think it's probably gotten a little bit better, but I haven't read the comics lately. I think they work together in some more, but it's still like not very trusting.
so
So
is there some sort of angle that you could see where they can get like because Eddie's not. Here's my problem with this whole thing. Eddie's not like useless now. Like he hates Peter Parker because Peter's a better photographer. Peter ends up getting the girl where Eddie doesn't, or Eddie just thinks he should be
yeah,
better. Like there's got to be some angle there, and I feel like by them doing this movie and from the sounds of it, Eddie Brock isn't like that terrible of a person. Like I can't see a method where like he be helpless. Spider-Man shows up, ruins everything for him, and then all of a sudden he's like, I need to be a straight on villain and kill Spider-Man. That's the part I'm really
yeah.
that's the part I'm really struggling with.
I mean, no, yeah, you're right. Like the only thing I'm sitting here thinking of it now, the only way to get him to really, I mean, the only animosity I can see would be because I mean they're gonna have to get the suit onto Spider-Man
Right.
at some point.
Right.
Would just be like for whatever reason, Venom. Because actually, by the way, that the movie he is Venom. The symbiote calls himself Venom from the start. That's not like some sort of nickname he gets throughout the movie.
Mm.
It's like he yeah. Anyway, so the only thing I can see is I don't know for whatever reason Venom jumps onto Tom Holland and decides he wants to stay and like now like a jilted lover. That's why Eddie Brock hates him. Otherwise, the only other thing I can see is if they continue if they pick up with Far From Home where he I think like now Spider-Man's like on the run and being hunted and this and that. Like even then, that's not a good reason to hate him and everything. But like that would be a reason to set up their conflict. Like Spider-Man, he's still an investigative reporter. He kind of he's rebounded, and then he sees he picks up threads about Peter Parker. Maybe he went west to hide or something like that. They did kind of paint themselves in terms of I mean, I didn't have an idea for why they would hate each other. I was just saying, I was just saying to merge the universes.
Right.
They've already like just keep it. You don't have to go insane. Like explain it, but don't go too in depth. And then people just have to finally say, okay, you know what? It's a movie. I'm just gonna accept it. It was the same. They painted themselves into a corner in terms of why would Eddie Brock hate Peter Parker with the intensity he did in the initial comic book run, even in the Sam Raimi third one. He hates him pretty intensely, but he does have his reason,
Yeah.
stupid as it is. But and would a reboot just be the better way to go in this scenario?
I kind of rather I mean we're stuck with it. Apparently, according to IMDb, right now I'm on the website. They're already filming.
Okay.
They're already filming Venom 2, so we're kind of screwed on that. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's just
Yeah.
so much older.
I
Like
don't know.
he's so much older than him. Like they're, I don't know. I'm not. Maybe I'll watch the movie and change my mind on this one. I can't see it at the moment. But I also think I don't know. I feel like some of these. I'm trying to think of even like the power scaling here, if of Venom being in the Sinister Six against Peter. Like Peter's gonna have I think some help at some point. Um, so would there be another character you'd want them to introduce like on the good side that could help Peter with all of this? Like if he is going, like let's say they do bring Carnage in too, like that's another one that you got to consider. So
Mm-hmm.
if they end up doing all that, is there somebody you'd want them to bring in that's brand new that you think would be a good fit to help Spider-Man fight the Sinister Six?
I don't know about brand new, but I mean, and again, this if they play the long game right, I would like to see if they bring it back home to New York, and if they do it right, this could be a way to reintroduce Daredevil and whatnot. But Charlie Cox, don't recast the character. But yeah, I mean, if they do the long game right, set up Venom 2, let Venom 2 figure out how it fits into the Marvel universe, because that really is that movie's friggin' problem.
Yeah.
You know, Spider-Man can just, they don't have the rights, but Marvel could just do its own thing with Venom one day. And if they, I'm surprised, honestly, by the way, quick pause. Are you just honestly as shocked as I am that Disney didn't just buy the rights back when all this happened?
Buy the rights back to what?
Spider-Man, like everything, like all the toys, all the, not the toys, you know what I mean, all the characters.
Well, they tried.
Just say,
They tried to, but Sony wouldn't sell it because Sony was
I
like,
thought Sony just wanted a lot of money, but really, what's a lot of money to Disney?
I mean, I don't know. It could be that they only had X amount of dollars currently to use. It could be, that even the return.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's all messy.
I don't know.
It's
I mean, it definitely is all messy, but I was just shocked to, like, I mean, people are like, oh, well, maybe they just wanted too much money. I'm like, but you're saying this in a world at the time where, when did Endgame come out? June or May?
Yeah. Was that last year or 2 years ago?
That was
last
That was only
year.
last year.
Okay.
Feels a long time ago.
Yeah.
You're talking about a world where, say, okay, this all happened in August. You're what, 2 or 3 months out from post Avengers Endgame, which made them all the money, and you're less than a month out post Far From Home, which also ended up making you $1 billion. But I mean, maybe we won't count that one because I think Sony did get the lion's share of profits on that one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, realistically, it's Disney. You've got Star Wars. You've got this, that, these, and those. You gave George Lucas $4 billion for Star Wars. Get Spider-Man back. Just buy the rights back. At this point, I think they're just like, they're like, well, you can't put the screws to us. Haha. Buy everything back. Do it right. Do all the characters right. And within 5-10 years, you make all your money back and then some. So that was just my quick little.
So
very surprised that just never happened. But yeah, I mean, Daredevil. I would say bring in the Defenders. To me, that would be what to do, because like you can't bring in Captain Marvel. She's too overpowered, and she would just fucking kill all of them. Like Thanos wasn't even Thanos wasn't even a threat to her until he took the Power Stone and gave her a sucker punch with it.
Yeah, that was another. That was another painted into a corner type of situation there.
Yeah. So unless something happens in her next solo movie, I'm not saying strip her of her powers, but like it's kind of like the Superman problem. Pre-crisis Superman was able to, move the planet or something like that, or like he had no upper limits of his strength as long as kryptonite wasn't near him.
Right.
Paints you into a corner. So, I would like to see them introduce Daredevil, Iron Fist, all those guys, because really, the Sinister Six going after Spider-Man, in a way, it has to be. In a way, it is street level stuff because Maximum Carnage, he terrorized New York City. Kraven, he terrorizes Spider-Man's friends and family. He did Kraven's Last Hunt was that huge. I've actually never read it, but I'm told it's a really good story where he just like psychologically attacks Spider-Man and like scarred Spider-Man by burying him alive, I think. So it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to tie into the Avengers. You can tie into the little guys, and that would be what I would like to see. Let's get Daredevil and all them on the scene. I've said Daredevil about as many times as you said most people, or whatever you were saying before.
I think it was most people, yeah.
Yeah, Daredevil.
So I guess my final question as a wrap up here, because I was thinking about it earlier today. I can't remember if it was because you texted me or maybe I saw something, but they do Spider-Man in high school currently, and these. Yes. Oh, you know what it was? You know what got the idea in my head? I saw a picture of that kid from Stranger Things with the gap tooth, and he's blatant, like he's blatantly older now. Like the next season, they shoot, they can't fool us at this point that he's in high school or elementary school, whatever. So Tom Holland is only getting older, and he's already in his mid-20s or early 20s, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want them going forward to just springboard into him being an adult already, or do we just at some point get rid of Tom Holland and Miles Morales takes it so we keep the young Spider-Man aspect?
I would think if they're smart, you keep both. You can have, because now that Spider-Man in the comics, again, from what little I've known, he's kind of is a legacy character because they have Spider-Man 2099,
Right.
they had Spider-Gwen,
Right.
all those other guys. I don't mind seeing him progress. It'd be kind of cool to see him progress from where we saw him in Civil War to something where he is like the older guy, not older, but adult guy, balancing his life, still feeling the call to responsibility, and you know, going out and helping people. But if you have to, like, they want kids, they want the younger audience. That's why they eventually not DH, but like they got rid of the marriage in the comics because, oh, he's too adult.
Right.
He started having the same problems. They brought back his same old problems. How am I making rent?
Right.
How am I cooking? How am I eating? Blah blah blah. Keep Miles Morales. Let him be a young Spider-Man. Let older Peter Parker mentor him here and there, and then go about his business. I like it. I don't mind seeing a character progress and grow. I didn't mind seeing it with Captain America. I didn't mind seeing it with Tony Stark. There's nothing wrong with seeing that. The only question is, can they? Because do they have the rights? Do they have the longevity to? If something happens and this deal blows up, I don't want to sit through another Spider-Man origin story, which I was glad they didn't do in Civil War. I was glad it was only very briefly mentioned, and then we keep right on moving.
Do you think if we keep characters young, right? Because here's the thing: when you did Iron Man, Captain America, and all those characters, you didn't really lock them into a certain age necessarily, or that window's longer, because you're like, oh, they're just adults. Like there's no time constraint. So at a certain point, if they kept doing Captain America, Chris Evans would be old, and you can't do that. So do we, at a certain point, like let's use Miles Morales for example, do we just start swapping characters and pull like a James Bond type thing where everything is not actually in continuity, or would you want to reboot at a certain point? What would you, if you were Marvel and you're like, all right, what's the 20-year plan here with Peter Parker?
If I'm Marvel, I think at a certain point, just in terms of all their characters, I think there's going to be some sort of movie event that reboots the universe, the cinematic universe. Assuming that the movies keep making money, which I can't really see them not, but assuming the quality, let's assume the quality stays there, where they only have a couple of misses, but for the most part, everybody's just like, oh my god, Winter Soldier, oh my god, keep going.
Yeah.
I would think, in terms of everybody, I would think that they would have to just do something that just restarts the entire universe. But then they can do it a little bit differently. Like, we don't have to have Captain America's origin story, but he's just back in the world.
Right.
We don't have to have, Tony Stark died snapping his fingers. He's just back and he's a different guy.
Yeah.
We can see it be different. It would be annoying for us because we've seen him grow and so on and so forth. But at that point, I'm talking about anyway, something that's so far down the line, another 20 years of these movies. Guy or kids will have only seen the DVDs, but it's like, okay, he's not really my Iron Man anymore because I'm not invested in it. It's a movie. Right. I already know that he dies, so on and so forth. Like, it would be a way to restart the universe so everybody has a chance to take it on fresh. Like, I can't see them doing the James Bond thing with this. I can't see them doing the James Bond thing just because it's too, like, it's too, okay, Miles Morales getting bitten by the spider. Okay, that happened. They explained it well. Is that going to happen every 20 years where miraculously they find another kid? How many people, how long do you have, how many Spider-Men do you need swinging around the city before you say, I should probably stop fucking with genetically engineered spiders because I just keep getting these guys all over the map?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it does. In that scenario, your team reboot is what you're saying.
In the long game, if Marvel has the control and Marvel keeps having, for the most part, the clear creative vision that they've had, yes, if they do it right. I mean, don't just reboot them now because it's a waste.
Right.
We haven't done everything we can with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and I get it. We might not be able to because of legal
Age.
reasons, but for as long as you have the character, don't take away. Keep adding more layers. You know. Oh, and by the way, they did let. It was nice. I liked. Just realized this saying it. I did like how they let Robert Downey Jr. age. If you look at the first one, jet black hair, perfect black goatee and mustache, and then as he goes on, the gray creeps in there.
Yeah.
So you're showing that there is, Thor and Captain America, they age more slowly and whatnot. But yeah. What about you? What do you? So what would you prefer? So
I
because
think
I've been yakking on your show for this whole time.
no, no,
May I ask you a question or two?
no, no. I think I would end up being team. I almost want to open the door to the challenge of passing the mantle, because
Really?
there have been characters where it worked. There's been many where they didn't, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of on the wagon here of let's pass mantles, because it'll go. I always think of Chronicles of Narnia. Do you know what that is? Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
I know what it is. I've never read the books or watched the movie though.
So what happens in the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is the four characters they go into a magic wardrobe and end up in this magical land, and they end up becoming like the kings and queens of this land of Narnia, and so on and so forth. At a certain point,
Okay.
they end up going back through the wardrobe as adults, because they've ruled the land for like forever. They go back through the wardrobe, and they're actually back in our world, but like a second from when they went in the first time. So they were in that world, they age, they leave the world, and then they're back as kids again.
Okay.
They end up they leave that as a thing, like as a somewhat plot device where time moves faster in Narnia than real life. But what ends up happening is there's apparently this rule where the kids can't go back into Narnia when they're not kids anymore. So the first movie you have four, and then the second movie, the four go in, and then the lion tells them, by the way, you two can't come back, because by the time you come back, you're too old to go through the wardrobe, or you're too old to come back to Narnia, because after the first movie, you no longer need to go through the wardrobe. You just have to be summoned by this magic horn. So the first movie you have four. The second movie, two of them get told you can't come back. The third movie, the two who can go back, they go back with their cousin, and then those two get told you can't come back, but the cousin can't. So like it keeps like passing like down the line of like who keeps the series going almost. And
Right.
that's kind of what I would want them to try with this is, all right, Tony Stark's dead and Cap is gone. So all right, so now we're going to do the Riri Williams Iron Man or Ironheart, and we do the
Right.
Bucky Barnes Captain America. And then
Right.
that would pose the real challenge to the writers. Like, can we pass this torch a third time? Can we pass it a fourth time? If the movies end up tanking, then yeah, you're gonna have to reboot it. But I think it would really push the creative angle of these writers to be like, yeah, I'm not gonna be the one writing this 50 years down the road, but wouldn't it be cool if we just kind of started our own thing and it just keeps going and the torch gets passed and everybody has their own version of who Iron Man is, but
Yeah.
that
Well,
kind of
okay.
thing.
So that makes. Sorry to cut you off. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I was just talking when I said like the reboot.
Yeah.
I was just thinking because like I said, how many spider powers can you get in one? It would assuming the origin of the powers are from a bite and they don't go some sort of mystical route like they did
Right.
in the comics.
Right.
And I'm not against. I actually am very looking forward to Bucky and Falcon and what they do with the shield and whatnot. I'm not against legacies. I don't want to reboot right now. I just meant like ultimately,
Right.
that's where I see it happening.
Right.
I don't mean to. I'm not trying to backpedal or anything, but just so I'm clear, I'm very excited to see like the legacy right now of Falcon getting the shield, even though maybe they're going to take it away from him and blah blah blah. and the next Iron Man being, what was her name?
Riri Williams.
Okay, yeah, Ironheart, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind seeing that. I'm just saying, like, long. I thought we were talking long game. I can't see them doing that for like forever. I think eventually it's going to come back through a recon reboot of the universe. But in the short term, yeah, I'm very excited to see all that.
Yeah. Awesome. Any last remarks before we wrap up this episode?
Uh, ooh, give me the real black Spider-Man suit. You know, like I don't like in the third one. It's weird. I have a weird thing with the costumes. Like I'm sure everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're really great. I think Marvel does them well. But like in terms of like even like I think I've talked to you about this. I don't like from Batman the Animated Series. For some reason, there's just something very iconic to me about when they would have him in the cave and he had the cowl down around his back,
Yep.
like just pulling it on and off like that.
Yeah.
And like the suit, like I don't understand, like the Spider-Man suit, the cosplay I've seen, just like a simple all black thing. You know, I want to see like give me that suit. I didn't like just that they dyed Tobey Maguire's red and blue suit black. You know, and they changed the spider a little bit, but
You want to
I would
clean?
just
You
like to
want to
see.
clean?
I want to see a real yeah, I want to see
Yeah.
the real Venom suit. And actually, I really like. I'll give him credit. The mask looks much better, even compared to the Amazing Spider-Man mask. Because remember, there was one. I'm like, oh come on, he's definitely wearing two different suits because they gave his neckline.
Mm.
I don't know why I remember this stuff so well. They gave Andrew Garfield in the first one when he had the mask off. All of a sudden, the suit like had like a little V
Yeah.
at the neck. So stuff like that. But yeah, don't. My last thing, as weird as this would be for me to end on, I want to see that suit. I want to see it. I want to see it right, and I want to see him do when he does have Venom taking over him or working with him, whatever. Let's see the weapon come out of the wrists like it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's I'd want
and
that.
and like the alternate. You know, I'm trying to do it now. Not that you can see me. I don't know why I'm doing it, but yeah, like you know, just him dropping his fist down to shoot it out instead of you know still activating it the way he did in the Tobey Maguire or with the web shooters.
Mm.
But what would your what's your final thought?
Give me 1 second. The battery died on my camera. All right, hold on. Oh yeah. So what I would want for that, yeah, the I want a nice clean suit. I want the webbing out of the top of the fists or the top of the wrist. Yeah, I'm all for that. I want him doing like clothes changing with the symbiote suit, like all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
All the cheesy,
Yep.
all the cheesiness. We don't. This is the one time where I don't want any kind of realistic angle towards any of this, or you know, it's part of his iron suit or anything like that. Which I also hate. I'm over the iron suit. I want him to just be Spider-Man. That's a whole nother thing, I guess. But that, yeah. I'm 100% with you on that. That's what I'd want.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, the iron suit. Well, I think he's done with the. I know you want to end it. Sorry, I think he's done with like the Endgame Iron Man suit for a while.
Is he?
I think he is. I mean, just in terms of, I mean, it still exists, but I feel like since he's swinging around at the end of that movie in the black and red, I think he, you know, I think he's put that aside because he's, you know, made his own. Now he made the suit properly himself, even though he used Tony Stark's. It was his design. It was what he wanted. It wasn't what Tony Stark said. Here, kid, this will look good on you.
Got it. That's right. I do remember that now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I still got to find some sort of title for like the series when I do chats with you and Aaron and other people, where we just kind of rant about one topic or whatever. But anything that you want to plug or promote, or any final words before we end you?
Wow, end me. That sounds so definitive. No, like I said last time, only plug I would give is you. So, you know, anybody listening who somehow is listening without subscribing, subscribe to HeyArcher. Great content.
I appreciate that. Well, Anthony, thank you for being on the show. For all of you, you heard the man said, hit subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Of course, you want to leave a nice review on all of your podcast platforms if you're listening on there. But But yeah, thanks for being on the show. Look forward to some more content with you. And I look forward to actually talking Birds of Prey, because
Yeah.
right now I'm seeing things online that people are saying it's actually pretty decent, but
Ah,
opinions are often skewed by what people are trying to promote. So, um,
yeah.
it's like, hey, I gave
I
you,
will be seeing it. So
yeah, well, it's like, like let's say you worked for, Anthony's magazine and they want to give you an exclusive, thing to see it. You're not going to probably leave a bad review. So we got to
yeah.
wait. Awesome. Well, yep. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for watching. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know down below what you think about the new Spider-Man Venom crossover. How do you want them to actually introduce Spider-Man? And of course, we'll talk about it when Morbius comes out. But see you nerds later, and we'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.